So today we're going to discuss Azure virtual machines. In this section, we're going to discuss virtual machines planning, creating virtual machines availability, virtual machines extensions, and we're going to do some labs around that. Virtual machines planning. In this section, we're going to discuss infrastructures as a service, cloud services, planning checklist, locations and pricing, virtual machine sizing, virtual machine disk, storage options, supported operating systems, virtual machine connections. So these topics we're going to look at in details. Now, infrastructures as a service, cloud services. Like in on-premises, when you have private cloud, we manage data and access, applications, runtime, operating systems, virtual machines, compute, networking, storage, everything we manage on premises. But when cloud service provider infrastructures as a service, they actually manage few things and we manage few things. So, for example, we manage data and access, applications, runtime, operating systems. But service provider, they provide virtual machines, computing services, networking, and storage. And if we use platform as a service, for example, Office 365, then we manage data and access and applications. But service provider or cloud provider, they provide all operating systems, virtual machines, computing, networking, storage, everything. As software as a service, we mostly manage data and access. Sorry, it was platform as a service, and this is software as a service. Software as a service, mostly we actually managing data and access. And service provider, they provide applications, runtime, operating systems, virtual machines, and networking and storage, everything. So this is infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service. For example, we're using Dropbox, OneDrive. So they are all software as a service. Platform, maybe you're running some applications and you're managing that data and access. And this is Microsoft Azure Cloud or Amazon AWS, they provide the infrastructures. So test and development purposes, website hosting, storage, backup, recovery, high performance computing, big data analysis, and extended data centers, these kind of scenarios, we can use this infrastructures as a service. Now, planning checklist, start with the network, name the VM. It's saying that how we can create on virtual machines, decide the locations for the VM, determine the size of the VM, understand the pricing model, consider storage for the VM, select an operating systems. So we can do these steps, then we can create our virtual machines. And when you create our virtual machines, we need to find the locations and pricing. Locations, each region has different hardware and service capabilities. Locate virtual machines as close as possible to your users. Locate virtual machines to ensure compliance and legal obligations. Pricing cost, compute cost, storage cost, those things we need to consider. So based on the locations, we may have different price, we may get different resources. So locations is important. So in Azure, we have 60 plus Azure regions available in 140 countries. So virtual machine sizing. When you create virtual machines, then we can select this size: A series, B series, D series. So they have many different series. Let's say A series, we have entry level for DevOps test environment. We can use this series. BS series, economical bursting. D series, general purpose computing. DC series, protect data in use. E series, in memory hyper-threaded applications optimizations. F series, compute optimizations, and so on. So you can see that there are some other series we can use for high performance, for storage optimizations, for memory optimizations, GPU enable. So all these virtual machine sizing, they're related with cost as well, cost and performance. So based on our requirements, we'll be able to choose a particular size. But this size also related with regions. Some particular regions you'll have particular size. Now virtual machine disk, operating system disk are SATA drives labeled as C. So when you create any virtual machines, it will have C drive, and on that C drive will have these operating systems. Then temporary disk provides short-term storage. Then data disk are SCSI drives and depend on your virtual machine types. So we'll be able to add disk. Default Azure will provide us some disk, but if we want, we'll be able to add more virtual disk over there as well. So storage options, premium storage offers high performance, low latency SSD disk types. So this is best options. This disk will be faster. Use premium storage for virtual machines with input-output intensive workloads. Two types of disk, unmanaged and managed. Unmanaged disks require you to manage the storage accounts and VHDs. And managed disks are maintained by Azure. Managed disk means when you create any new virtual machines, Azure will provide the disk space. That is, we call it managed disk. But you can create your own virtual hard disk, and you can attach your virtual hard disk, or you can upload your virtual hard disk to cloud, and you can attach that particular operating systems with that disk. So those kind of disks called unmanaged disk. Unmanaged disk means it's provided by you. Now, supported operating systems. Windows servers includes many common products, requires a license, does not support operating system upgrades. Linux distributions are supported. Upgrade of the operating system is supported. So that means it's saying you can upgrade the operating systems as well. So some common operating systems, you can get Windows servers, Ubuntu servers, Red Hat Linux, Windows client, which is Windows 10 machines, SE Linux. So those kind of operating systems we'll be able to use. Virtual machines connections, remote desktop protocol for Windows-based virtual machines. So when you create any virtual machines, you'll be able to connect with that VM with RDP. You can download RDP agent, and with that you'll be able to log in. And secure shell protocol for Linux-based virtual machines. So SSL, we using SSH secure shell to connect to the Linux VM. We can use Bash on subnet for RDP and SSH through the portal over SSL. So that means from the web browser, we'll be able to access the virtual machines. Second sections, creating virtual machines. Creating virtual machines, we can create virtual machines in the portal. Windows virtual machines, we can create Windows VM connections. We're going to look at Linux virtual machines, Linux VM connections. We're going to look at how to connect over there. So creating virtual machines in the portal, we have a basic options, project details, administrator account, inbound portals, disk, operating system disk types, data disk, networking, virtual networks, load balancing, management, monitoring, auto shutdown and backup. So these are the features we can create from virtual machines from the portal. Advanced and additional configurations, agents, scripts, or applications. So these are the features we have. We can configure these things from portal. Windows virtual machines, unique hybrid capabilities, advanced multi-layer security, faster innovations for applications, unprecedented hyper-converged infrastructures. So simply you can deploy your infrastructures over there, applications deployment, database deployment. So you'll have many options in here. So hybrid capabilities means these virtual machines can run on the cloud and it can be synced with your on-premises services as well. Now Windows VM connections, we can connect with remote desktop protocol. We just need to have 3389 port, TCP port need to be open. Once it's open, we'll be able to do RDP to that virtual machines. WinRM creates a command line sessions, so can run scripts. WinRM is one of the command line tools. With that, we can connect remotely and we can apply some commands to our virtual machines as well. Now we're going to look at how to create these virtual machines, connect to a VM, install the web server roles, and view the IIS welcome page. Okay. So Linux virtual machines, hundreds of community built images in the Azure marketplace available. Linux has the same deployment options for Windows VM. Manage Linux VMs with many popular open source DevOps tools. So we have Debian Linux, Clear Linux OS, SUSE Linux Enterprise Servers, Red Hat Linux. So we have many options. Linux VM, so authenticate with the SSH public key or password. SSH is an encrypted connections protocol that allow secure logons over unsecured connections. There are public and private key pairs. So from the Azure portal, we'll be able to create this SSH public key. We'll be able to create username and public key, username and password, and we'll be able to generate this SSH public key. With that secured way, we'll be able to log into this VM. So these things we need to look at as well, create the SSH keys, create the Linux machines and assign the public SSH key, access the servers using SSH. So we have more features with our virtual machines. Virtual machines availability. So these sections we're going to look at virtual machines, maintenance and downtime, availability sets, update and fault domains, availability zones, scaling concepts, skill sets, implementing skill sets, auto scaling, implementing auto scale. Maintenance and downtime. So when you create any virtual machines, they are actually hosting in Microsoft data centers. So in the back end, they have the Hyper-V and those kind of technologies. So sometimes when you create your VM, it may need some updates. It may have some hardware issues on their side. So during that time, your virtual machines may not be available. So that's why we need to understand what to do during that time, how to provide availability during those times. Or if any unexpected things happen in the data centers or with that particular hardware, then what will happen with our virtual machines? So unplanned hardware maintenance. When the platform predicts a failure, it will issue an unplanned hardware maintenance event. Right? So suddenly something happened with the hardware over there, then that will cause unplanned hardware maintenance event. And solutions is live migrations. It will be from their side. So if anything happened with the hardware, your VM will automatically migrate to another place. This is called live migrations. So if one side having some issues, automatically it will run from another side. Unexpected downtime. Unexpected downtime is when a virtual machine fails unexpected. Actions automatically migrate. Planned maintenance. Planned maintenance events are periodic updates made to the Azure platform. No action. So if it is some planned outage, for example, weekend on a particular period of time, the service will be unavailable. So that's a planned, maintenance time. So that time service will not be available. Now around that area, we can do some configurations. In this way, we can make our service, available. Example, availability sets. Configure multiple virtual machines in availability sets. Configure each application's tier into separate availability sets. Combine a load balancer with availability sets. Use managed disk with the virtual machines. So you can create multiple availability sets. Availability sets, under that, we can create fault domains and update domains. Fault domain means, let's say something happened with one of the hypervisor. So you need to move your virtual machines to different place. So if you select two fault domains, so if one side something happened, it will automatically move to another domain. Another domain means area, another areas. An update domain means, let's say you have like few virtual machines, they're running in one locations, and that host servers need some update. So if it is updating, it may take half an hour, 1 hour, things like that. So that's kind of maintenance. So on that time, if we have more than one update domains, so your VM will move to in different domains. So if you have fault domains 2 and update domains 5, 2 or more instances in availability sets can provide you 99.95% time, availability. And this is the SLA, service level agreement. So that means if you select these things, you can provide 99.95% availability. So advice is configure multiple virtual machines in availability set, and configure each application's tier into separate availability sets. And combine load balancers, and then use manage this with virtual machines. Now update and fault domains. Update domains allows Azure to perform incremental or rolling updates across the deployment. During plant maintenance, only one update domain is rebooted at a time. Right? And fault domains. Fault domains are a group of virtual machines that share a common set of hardware switch that share a single point of failure. VMs in the availability set are placed at least two fault domains. Right? Fault domains, that means you have your servers, you have your database servers, web servers. So they will move to another rack, another data centers or another rack. So if you select two fault domains and 5 update domains, pretty much you can provide 99.95% time of availability. Now, availability zones. Unique physical locations in a region includes data centers with independent power, cooling, and networking. Protects from data center failures. Combines the update and fault domains. Provide 99.99% time SLA. Availability zone means this is one zone, another zone, and another zone. So if something happened in the entire data centers in one region, then it will run from another region. If something happened with the other one, then it will run from another region. So in a previous lab, we have looked at when you configure the load balancer, we actually configure our load balancer in different zones, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. So you can have maximum 3 zones. And with that, in addition to availability zones, if you have, in addition to availability sets, if you configure availability zones, you can provide 99.99% SLA. Another concept we have called scaling. Scaling concepts, vertical scaling, scale up and scale down is the process of increasing or decreasing power to a single instance of a workload, usually manual. So increasing and decreasing power to a single instance. Single instance means, let's say you have one virtual machines and you update some resources over there. So you need more resources. So you update some resources over there. That is called vertical scaling. And horizontal scaling, scale out and scale in, is a process of increasing or decreasing the number of instances of a workload, frequently automated. Increasing number of instances, that means, let's say you have one virtual machines, but you need more, resources, and you need more instances actually. So let's say you have now two virtual machines will be there. If you need maybe 3 virtual machines will be there. Right? So number of instances will be increased in here in horizontal scaling. But in vertical scaling, you'll have one instance, but internally you'll have more resources internally. So skill sets means, in skill sets, deploy a set of identical VMs. No pre-provisioning of VMs is required. As demand goes up, VMs are added. As demand goes down, VMs are removed. So in our skill sets, we can deploy multiple VM and we can set up in such a way that when demand goes up, we can add more VM. When demand goes down, it will automatically decrease the VM. The process can be manual, automated, or a combination of both. So this is part of this skill sets. Implementing skill sets. Instance count, number of VMs in the skill sets, we have 0 to 1000. So you can have that many of VMs. Instance size, the size of each virtual machines in the skill set, like what kind of VM you want, how many. Size means, size actually includes the CPU powers, memory, etc. Like how many CPU you have, what will be your memory, and what kind of disk you will have. So these three things will be part of this size. Azure Spot instance, unused capacity at a discounted rate. So that means, let's say you picked up this size, but you're not using much. So you'll get a bit of discount around that there. Use managed disk. Yep. And enable scaling beyond 100 instances. So this is kind of like advice. Managed disk means is a Azure provided disk we should use. And yeah, so this is the advice. So that's many instances we should create. So auto scaling will work around that areas. Let's say default rules to automatically adjust capacity. Scale out the number of VMs in the set. And scale in means reduce. Scale out means increase. Scale in means reduce the number of VM in the set. Schedule events to increase or decrease at fixed times. Reduces monitoring and optimize performance. So this is, yeah, so you can see that's reducing and increasing. So these things can be managed automatically. Implementing auto scale. So define a minimum, maximum, and default number of VM instances. Initial instance count 2. So that means 2 virtual machines. And then scaling, we can have a minimum number of VMs 1 and maximum number of VMs 10. We can set up in such a way that if your CPU threshold is 75% during 10 minutes time, number of VMs will increase 1. And scaling, if CPU threshold is 25%, number of VMs to decrease by 1. So is less utilizations, VM will be reduced. Is more utilizations, VM will be added. So it will start from 1 and you can use up to 10 VM. So that's how we can set up this auto scaling. Now, virtual machines extensions. We have other sections, virtual machines extensions, custom script extensions, desired state configurations. Virtual machines extensions. These extensions are small applications that provide post-deployment VM configurations and automation tasks. Managed with Azure CLI, PowerShell, Azure Resource Manager's templates, and Azure Portal. Bundled with a new VM deployment or run against any existing systems. Different for Windows and Linux machines. So these are the small applications with that we can import some, automated script, or let's say some configurations you have done, you want to deploy. You can bring those command and stuffs with these custom scripts, PowerShell desired state configurations with that. Now, custom script extensions. Extension scripts can be simple or complex. Extensions have 90 minutes to run. Double check dependencies to ensure availability. Account for any errors that might occur. Protect and keep sensitive informations. Extension means, for example, you want to deploy one web servers. and then web servers, you have done your all configurations. And you simply want to add the web servers over there. So you can create that one in PowerShell, and after that, you can browse from here. You can grab that script. And then once you grab that script in the backend, it will be installed inside your virtual machines. Let's say you're deploying many virtual machines, and some of the machines you need some web servers or other extensions. You simply you'll be able to import this one from here. It will take roughly around 90 minutes. And dependencies, for example, need to be there as well. For example, if you want to deploy web servers, you may need Windows servers. And once you have a Windows servers, then you can deploy web servers over there. Now, desired state configurations. Configurations block have a name. Node blocks define the computers or VMs that you are configuring. Resource block configure the resource and its properties. There are many built-in configuration resources. This is one of the custom scripts. Configurations IIS install, node localhost, Windows features, IIS features, ensure present, name web server. So this script, what it will do, it will simply deploy web servers in one of the Windows servers operating systems. It will work in local machines. It will work in Azure virtual machines as well. So this command will this command will install one of the IIS servers role in virtual machines. Now, this sort of things we're going to look at as part of our lab. Now, let's go to our Azure portal. And we can deploy virtual machines. We can deploy virtual machines from here. But before that, we need to have, if you want to add availability sets, we need to create availability sets beforehand. We can actually create during the deployment time as well. But let's say how to create availability sets. You can search for these availability sets. And then you can create availability sets. And at first, we need some resource group. I can create new resource groups. Resource group 10. Name my availability set, and region, I'm going to select East US, and fault domains, 2 fault domains, update domains, 5 update domains. And manage disk, yes, we're going to use the manage disk. Next, advanced. This one, leave it default, tag, review plus create. So we specify the region, name, and how many fault domains we want, how many update domain we want, and what will be our disk types. We have selected this one. Now click create. Right, so this is done. Once you create, so it will have those informations. Currently, we do not have any virtual machines. So that's how you create availability shifts. Okay, so now we're going to look at availability zone. Availability zone actually we can select during the virtual machines creation times. But let's have a look scaling. Virtual machines skill sets. So that's actually virtual machines skill sets. So create virtual machines skill sets. So create virtual machine skill sets. Part of that one, need to select the resource group. So I'm going to select RG10 and I'll name it my skill set 1, my skill set 1, and region East US. And when you create skill sets, you can deploy, you can also specify how many zones you want. So this is default orchestrations options. And you specify image, what image you want to deploy. Let's say you want some under this virtual machines skill sets, you want Windows servers 2016 servers. There's many other image. Azure Spot instance. This is one of the cost savings options you can select. So this one will provide you some discount. If you have any unused services, you'll get those services in discounted rate. And this is the size. We can see this size. If you want to see in detail, see all sizes. So see, this is the D size, D series, B series, A, B, C, D, E, F. They have many different series in here. So based on your requirements, you can select one of this disk size. So part of this series, for example, the first one, we have general purpose use. This is, we have one virtual CPU, 3.5 gig RAM, 4 virtual disk, disk input output, 32,000, temporary storage is 7 gig, premium disk is supported, cost $73.17. So different size of the VM, they have different price. Oh, this one is only $10. This is general purpose, one CPU, one RAM, two disk, 320 input output systems. It's only $10 per month. This is a bit cheaper, but you can see some of them a bit expensive. In our case, this one selected 4 virtual CPU, 16 GB RAM, 8 disk, and input output per second is higher as well or faster. So you got many options. We leave it default. Now username Zahid and password. So process, it's pretty similar to creating normal virtual machines, but it's got some other options. Networking, operating system disk, this one fine. Encryption type, that's also fine. Other things you leave it default. Click networking. Networking, this is creating default networks, but if you want, we can create our own network. Scaling, that's where you can do some configurations. Initial instance count, 2. The number of virtual machines in this skill set, it will be 2. You can put 10 as well. Scaling policy, manual or customs. If you click on customs, so minimum number of instances will be 1, maximum number of instances will be 10. So that means you can have up to 1 to 10 VM part of this virtual machines skill set. So if your CPU utilizations reach 75%, and if it is going on for 10 minutes, automatically one VM will be added over there. But if it is CPU utilizations goes down, if it is 25%, number of instances to decrease 1. So your VM will be minimum 1. So minimum VM will be 1 and maximum VM will be 10. We put 5 here. We can customize from here. Initial one, it was actually 2 because initially you don't need maybe 10. But it depends on that. You can change these values as well. After that, balance across availability zone and fault domains, then delete based on your requirements. Management, this is related with our monitoring tools. You have some other options like operating system updates, enable automatic OS updates. Health, this is part of the monitoring stats, advanced. So this one we can leave it default, but you can see that we have fault domains count 5. Tag, review plus create. And create. So this kind of VM, you can deploy, let's say, some load balancer services. Hi, Ritesh, how are you?
I'm good. Zaid, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Not very good, but
Yeah, you got a bit of flu?
yeah, I'm having flu. I don't know. I hope it's not COVID.
Oh, okay. Have you done any testing? Oh,
No, I haven't gone for the testing yet.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, it could be, some
I don't know. It might be because
basic
of the
stuff.
weather
So,
as well.
yeah, it could be weather because it's extremely cold. Uh, some period of time is very cold and sometimes it's okay. It's like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. But it's good that couple of weeks got um, off. Off means like, you stay at home and then you manage the stuff. So,
yeah. But I have to go to office because
oh,
we
you
are
have to
part
go
of
to.
the essential services.
Okay, okay,
Yeah, because we
okay.
supporting all the banks and the supermarkets.
Okay, yeah. So you must have to be there. Yeah. So essential service, you must have to be there. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
where you need to be. So can't do much. Yeah. Yeah, but we are in CBD, so we have to,
Yeah,
it's,
CBD, stay home, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so we have just started one of the topics. We have done a bit of discussions, and after that, we are deploying some of the stuffs. This is, you can check this one, but Azure virtual machines. So virtual machines, we worked around that area, but today we are looking at some more features around these virtual machines.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So you can follow from now, and later on I'll give you the video link, so you should be
Okay.
fine with that. Cool. So this services, part of this one, we have configured skill sets. So this skill sets is running, and we can see we have, two of them, they are running. This is the computer name. Yep. So if I click here, if I want to connect RDP, connecting. Yeah, so this virtual machines is like a bit different than the normal virtual machines. It has all the ports and everything. It's got the connections, but it doesn't have username and password. It's not like a normal virtual machines. If we go to disk, so yeah, there's a disk over there. So particular services, if you'd like to run, so those kind of scenario, this kind of VM is good. Yeah, so this is a special kind of VM. So if I go to my skill set, I got a couple of VM, they are running. This is the computer name, and this is my skill sets under that. They are like identical VM. They're the same VM. So, but we should be able to log in. Some reason is not coming up. Okay, we'll try this one. Maybe it's not fully ready yet. Let me check whether it got public IP address or not. So if I go to overview, instances, we have this one. Okay, there's something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have public address in that way. Yeah, so it doesn't have any public address yet, because some specific areas we can use these instances. Mostly, it's not for normal virtual machines. It's more on part of a service. For example, application load balancing or some kind of load balancing areas where you need more VM or you need less VM. So those kind of scenario, these VM skill sets will work. So for that, we need to have a special network. That network may have some public IP address, load balancers, and all these things. Then this VM will provide services under that load balancer. So virtual machines availability sets we have created, and it's running at the moment, but they are related directly with some other applications or load balancers. They are related with that. It's not a normal virtual machines where you can log in and access and stuffs. This VM they are running, but they will be part of particular load balancer or particular services. But we created another thing, that is availability sets. We'll be able to add the availability sets when you create new virtual machines. For example, now we're going to create one of the new virtual machines. Click on create virtual machines. Resource group, we select RG10. This is from today. Virtual machines, my VM1. And then availability options. In here, you can select either zone or virtual sets. If you select zone, so it should be related with some particular load balancers or applications. Or you can select, normally as well. But if you want to select availability sets, then you need to select which availability sets you want to use. So that's the my availability sets we created. So availability sets, we have for domains and update domains. So rest of the things, they are normal. So review and create. So three important things around here: availability zone, which we have looked at part of the load balancer, and availability sets. This is the way we can create, and virtual machines skill sets. that is related with some applications, but we have looked at how to create that as well. Okay, so just wait for a couple of minutes, then it will be ready. Okay, with that, now let's go to VM. So this is our virtual machines. So this one we can connect with RDP. But if you'd like to connect with the version, we need to create separate network. Last time we have created, remember, one VNet, and that VNet we had this version. So for the version, we need a separate subnet, but that subnet need to be added with our virtual network. And SSH, that's a different method. We can use SSH as well. Now with these virtual machines, you can see the account activity log, like this VM has been created. So every time we work in this VM, so we'll have these options in here. This is just event, same like event viewer. Access control, so who can manage and access this VM? We can assign access from here. There, the default stuffs, networking. These virtual machines has public IP address. It has NIC card. It has public IP address. It has private IP address. And also some firewall rules. See, RDP is open. This is inbound rules. Inbound means something coming inside our network or inside the VM. So RDP port is open. When RDP port is open, we'll be able to remote in over there. Outbound rules. There are some default outbound rules. Allow VNet outbound, allow internet outbound, and deny all outbound. So that's how automatic NSG rules. This is the NSG network security groups rules activated. Similar to that, we have application security groups you can configure, load balancer groups you can configure. So inbound rules, lower the priority, that rules will take effect at first. Higher the priority, that rules will take at last. But we can create new rules if we want. Like some port you want to allow, so you can configure it in here. So I can say destinations port number maybe 443. That may be TCP. You can priority C 310. Say SSL allow. Oops. That's how you can create rules. Okay, so it's created. See, it's placed under that. We can change the priority if you want. If you click again, then we can make some changes. If you want to apply before RDP, we can put 250. Then it will be, before these rules. If you'd like to delete, we can simply click delete. So that's how we can work with this networking part. Connections, we have looked at, we have few connections. So disk, we can add extra disk. So at first we connect, then we're going to upload that one. So it's connecting. So let's go to disk. So we have default disk. This is SSD disk. We have one disk. If I go to my VM, this is one of the Windows servers. If I right click on that corner, go to disk management, then I'll be able to see this disk. So you got basic disk and C drive. And then we have another data disk, that is temporary storage, 32 GB. But if you want to add one more disk, we can go to our virtual machines, create and attach new disk. This is the locations. Yeah, this is the unique number. Name, let's say data 2. Then what kind of, oops. And storage types premium SSD, size 4 GB. You can make changes if you want. And maximum input output, throughput, encryptions, host cachings. So cache mode, read only or read write. You can select as well. Once you select, once you configure your requirements, then you click save. Now, once it's done, then if you go to our virtual machines, we go to this location, so you'll be able to see that disk. See, now it's appeared in here. Now this disk, we right click, initial disk. After that, we can configure as MBR or GPT. MBR is the default master boot record, but GPT is new versions of partitions table, but will be default. Now it's online. Now you can configure this one. You can right click, new simple volume, next, next, next. You can have name for this one, say data 2, next, finish. So now you have the new data volume we created. So that's how we can add disk. Now if you go to our file explorer, this PC, now you can see our data folders. Okay, so that's how you can add extra disk with your virtual machines. Then about virtual machine size, let's say you'd like to change your disk size. So disk size, that's actually contain your CPU, RAM, and input output, throughput, speed, disk input output rate. So you can select different one. Yeah, so security can be managed from here. Extensions. Extensions means, let's say your VM is ready. Now you'd like to add something, add some features with that. So you can click on add. Then after that, this is many interface we have, like some backup agent you want to add with your VM, or some security stuffs you want to add. You want to deploy some agent. Let's see, agent for virtual Windows servers monitoring. So let's say you want to add these applications. You can add those stuffs. So this is kind of agent you can add. Oops, I'll click on add again. So there are many things, application inside agent, Azure performance diagnostics. So there are many different small applications link we have in here. Or if you'd like to deploy any script, see custom script extensions. If you click on here, then we say create. And once you create, then we can browse the file and you can grab the storage account. We need to have some storage account around that. Just one like that. So you need storage account. Then after that, you'll be able to deploy or you'll be able to grab some script from on-premises. You'll be able to add some scripts with your virtual machines. Oh, it's taking quite a long time. Yeah, after that, you can add many stuffs. Let's go back to our install extensions, custom extensions. So that's usually for some post configurations, we can use this one. Yeah, you can launch a PowerShell scripts on the VM, which in turn can download additional software components. Custom script extension tasks can also be automated using the PowerShell commands. So with this one, you can add some applications or you can add some commands and stuffs or some scripts you'll be able to add. This is for the DevOps availability and scaling. We can see that my availability set has been added and that contain some other stuffs like fault domains and um, update domains. They are part of this one. So we'll go back. Yeah. So you have already added. So this is another, security stuffs. You can add a particular time, and on that particular time, people will be able to access these virtual machines. You can time-based access control. You can enable for this VM. And logs is same like dead log and read log. We can add with this one. If we put read log, then that means people will be able to read this one only. If we put delete log, that means if other people they have access this VM, they'll not be able to delete the VM. So this is the log. So there are some other features. Bastions, auto shutdown. Auto shutdown is by default every day 7 p.m. So this one will shut down. It's on 7 p.m. time zone coordinated universal time. Send notifications before auto shutdown, yes. And this is the notifications email address. So before the shutdown, they'll send us send us an email about that. You can turn it on or you can turn it off. So we can have a backup. So backup, a few different ways we can enable the backup. You can have a backup in Azure portal, or you can you can have a backup in on-premises as well. So you got some options, but this is the locations you can see how your backup actually configured. So this is part of the backup. We're going to discuss entire backup things, how we can put a backup for virtual machines. So this is part of the monitoring tools. We're going to discuss this one in details when you discuss the monitoring part. But you can monitor from here your virtual machines. You can see many stuffs, but most importantly, reset password. Sometimes you may have problem with your virtual machine's password. You can reset username and password from here. So backup and monitoring, we're going to discuss as part of the entire backup discussions and monitoring discussions. Okay, so let's have a look. This is Windows virtual machines. Let's have a look a bit of things around Linux VM, like how to deploy deploy Linux VM in Azure. So you're going to follow one of the quick template. We'll copy this one, put over there. So you're going to do these labs. We're going to log into Azure virtual machines. And after that, we're going to create one of the Ubuntu servers. And after that, we need to create SSH public key. We need to have a name, generate a new key pair, and we need to have a key pair name as well. And then SSH, they're using port number 22. We need to remember that port number, remember to open that port number 22 as well. After that, you create. So when the generate new key pair window opens, select download private key and create resource. So your key file will be downloaded as mykey.pem. Make sure you know where the PEM file was downloaded. You need this path to it in the next step. So then you'll go to resources, and then on the VM page for your new VM, select the public IP address. You need public IP address. So basically, we need public IP address and that key pair, private key we need. Then create SSH connections with VM. If you're using Mac or Linux, open Bash, but if you're using Windows machines, open PowerShell. Open SSH connections to your virtual machines and replace the IP address with one from your VM, and then replace the path to .pem with the path to where the key file was downloaded. So you need to say, when you open the PowerShell console, you need to say ssh-i dot downloads, and this is the file, and this is the username, and that is the public IP address. Good. That's how we can logged in. And after that, this is install web server, sudo apt get -y update, sudo apt get -y update install nginx. So this web servers we can install. So this is one of the Ubuntu servers. So we'll create virtual machines, create new virtual machines, resource group, you're going to select RG10, virtual machines name, my Linux VM, East US image, Ubuntu 18.0. So actually, so after that, so rest of the process is actually same. We need to select the size, and after that, SSH public key is a name. Yep, is a name. I put Zahid. Okay. generate new pair. Yeah, that's fine. And key pair name. So that's my Ubuntu VM1 key pair. That's fine. After that, make sure we have SSH open, SSH and port 80. So actually enable all of them. But we need mostly to connect to the VM, we need SSH port number 22. But after that, if we deploy something, we need this other protocol. Next. So rest of the stuff, we leave it default and click create. And create. And this is when you create a generate new key pair. So this one we need to download because we need this one later on. And after that, we go to PowerShell. You back now with this?
Yeah, I'm back.
Cool. Yeah, so we can log in. It's the same process. Just I tried again and it works now. So you don't need any admin. Just simply open the PowerShell, and then if you download that key, public key, then you need to use this one to log into that Linux VM. And this is to see the VM in actions. Install ng INX web servers. See what it is.
Right? Can I still use your credentials you gave me last time?
Sure. Yeah.
But I forgot the username you gave me.
Oh, okay. I'll show you. So if I go to Azure Active Directory, users. Yeah, it's a bit long. I think it's the default password.
Oh, I changed the password.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, it looks like it's done. So once it's done, then we'll be able to see these web servers from the local host. So simply we need the IP address. So IP address is this one. Yep. Welcome to NGINX. So this web servers is hosting inside our Linux virtual machines.